I think a lot of people don't even realize that their real estate agent has lied to them in the past. They have this trust in this real estate agent who wasn't even honest with them. And I think that's a real problem.
Hello there, and welcome back to the My Future Business Show. My name's Rick Nusky. I'm your host. It's just so wonderful to be that person for you because serving you is what I love to do. I get up of a morning, I think, how best can we improve the My Future Business Show today? And I tell you what, there's some great ideas coming through the channel. So I'd like to just take a moment of pause to thank some people that have been giving their feedback through our contact page. And if you'd like to do so, make sure you visit the My Future Business site and do that. And we got one bit of feedback from Taylor. He says, thanks for all the different topics that you're covering on the show. So thanks very much for that, Taylor. Now on today's show, I have the pleasure of welcoming the author of Agents Are Liars and Real Estate Specialist, David Lampe. Welcome to the show, David.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely a pleasure to have you here. Now, you and I are going to be talking about how to save thousands of dollars when buying or selling a home and how people can find great agents and say goodbye to the greedy ones. Now, there's some pretty confronting things. I love the cover of your book, and we're obviously going to be taking a look at that, which people can find at agentsareliars.com. But it's pretty obvious what your domain's about. It's pretty obvious what the book's about. But before we jump into the core of that and talk all about that, where are you calling in from today, David?
Denver, Colorado.
Beautiful. Love the place. How long have you lived there?
Almost my whole life since I was
Oh,
3 years old.
wow. So tell us about life growing up there. Has it changed?
Oh yeah, it's changed a lot. It's grown very much. We have a lot more traffic, and it's a lot different than it used to be. That's for sure.
Now, when I was growing up, I remember, not having to be home until the street lights came on. What do you think? What do you remember of your childhood?
Yeah, I remember that same thing. Yeah, we used to stay out as long as we possibly could until it got dark out in the summer. And yeah, it seems like it's a little different these days. You don't see kids out just playing all the time in the streets like that.
No, it's a funny thing, isn't it? And technology has certainly taken a big place in their lives, especially our kids. And yeah, I think there's some validity in getting outside. What do you reckon about that? Do you like to get outside yourself?
Oh yeah, I love to. I have a dog and I take her for a walk every day. I just got back from a walk and I also take her for runs 3 times a week
What
too.
sort of dog do you have?
She's a chocolate lab.
Oh, lab. Wow, is she a hairy one? Like, does she drop a lot of
Um,
hair?
yeah, she does. She's short hair, but she definitely sheds a lot.
Yeah. I tell you, I've got a very special spot in my heart for pets because, they have a calming effect on us, don't they?
Yeah, and they get us out to exercise too, so
Oh,
that's a
yeah.
good thing.
Absolutely. Now, when you were a kid, did you have any pets back then?
Yeah, I had a couple dogs when I was a kid too.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, do you like sports?
Well, a lot of people here do a lot of different things like running and biking, bike riding, skiing, of course, and winter sports,
Yeah,
snowshoeing, all that kind of stuff, and hiking. Yeah, I like doing all that kind of stuff, all that
we
outdoor stuff.
we talk about this because it gives some context behind the person behind the business, and obviously we're going to be touching on your professional life, which I know that you've been involved with for a long deal of time. But when we get some time away from business, I personally like to go out with friends and have a meal. Do you do anything like that? Do you enjoy socializing?
Yeah, definitely. Actually, I'm meeting some friends this evening at it's called Edgewater Public Market. It's one of those new places with a whole bunch of different restaurants in one place.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, given your line of work, you'd have to be engaged with so many different people. Do you find that you're an introvert at heart, or are you extroverted, do you think?
Kind of in the middle, I guess. I'm kind of different than most real estate agents out there in that I have a degree in computer science, and
Oh,
I used to
wow.
do computer programming and then website marketing and that type of thing. So it's quite different than what a lot of agents'
Yeah, well,
background.
that's a good thing. You've got a different angle to come in from. Now, when I was growing up, I had this one particular person I always used to look to for advice, and I always asked this question: who did you have in your life? Did you have anybody in your formative years that really had an impact on you and the way you think? Do you think?
Well, yeah, definitely. I think the school I went to helped. It was kind of a little different. It was called an open school when I was in elementary school.
Oh.
And so we, got to do things more projects and traveling and things like that. And I think that helped me become a lifelong learner. And then one other thing that really influenced me in my teenage years is my parents
Mm.
were buying and selling homes, investment properties, and I got
Ah,
interested in real estate at that time.
yeah, love it. Now, you talked about lifelong learning. How best do you learn? Are you an audio book type of guy, or do you like hardback books? What's your thing?
Mostly I like paperback books, I'd say,
Yeah, yeah.
or hardback books. There's something I like about like flipping the pages, I guess. Although I
Yes.
do read the Kindle books as well.
It's funny because it makes me think about you as an author. Do you see power in the pen, or are you a typer?
Typing, basically.
Yeah,
I guess
yeah.
maybe that's kind of from my computer background. Yeah, I don't really handwrite
Ah,
stuff that much.
no, there's no big pens in this home. Now, tell me, where do you get your best ideas from? When do they come to you?
So really the idea for this book came about last year. Well, even a little before that. I
Yeah,
was seeing, all these lies that real estate agents tell, primarily to get clients. And I had like one client in particular, or a potential client who got taken advantage of by an agent and ended up, it costing her a lot of money. And that's what really spurred me into writing the book.
yeah.
And then as far as like ideas of writing the book, I've been doing this for so long, for 14 years, basically, that I've pretty much seen it all in the real estate world.
Mm.
So it's kind of all in my head, I guess.
Well, not anymore. It's in the book, isn't it?
True.
Now, now tell me, when do you write? Are you a morning type of person or afternoon?
Because I'm still selling real estate, I would write whenever I could, basically, because
Yes.
my schedule is all over the place. I might have to go show houses or go to a listing appointment, and I would fit in writing in between.
Hey, in all of this, being that you're a busy professional, do you only find any time to actually, just take a break and slow down a bit? And is that important to you?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I try to go at least once a year on a vacation somewhere, because that
Mm.
I think that makes a huge difference. And then getting outside with my dog and that kind of thing
Yeah,
helps a
yeah.
lot too.
So where do you want to go next? Do you have any travel plans?
I really kind of want to go to Europe next. It's
Ah,
been a while. It's been 20 years since I've been to Europe, so I kind of want to
yes.
go back to
So where was the last place that you went to that you really enjoyed?
Hawaii last summer.
Oh, geez, I'm green with envy. I'd love to go there. But now, tell me, you obviously get up early in the morning and you're into it straight away. Sometimes I wake up of a morning, I just want to go back to sleep because I just can't be bothered. Do you ever have those days? And what do you do to motivate yourself?
Well, yeah, definitely. I always get up at 5:30 every day, and I think coffee helps.
Oh yes, we went out and bought a very nice coffee machine. Are you an instant type of guy, or do you like to make your own coffee, so to speak?
Make my own.
Yes,
Yeah,
very nice. Are you a short black, a long black? Do you have a special type?
just plain old black
Just
coffee.
oh,
Yeah,
beautiful. Keep it simple for me, he says. Now,
yeah.
in all the time that you've been working in real estate, it's been what 14 years now, nearing 15. What's the one thing that has really stood out for you over that period of time? What have you learned the most?
I guess one thing that really stands out the most probably is how incredibly crazy it got after COVID hit.
Mm.
Right when it hit, we all were like, "Oh, what's going to happen?" And they stopped showings completely for a couple months here, and then right after that, it just went crazy.
Yep,
for
yep.
for 2 years, it was just nonstop.
Mm.
Um, so I think that was the strangest thing I've seen, really, other than when I first got into it. It was during the housing crisis, and there were lots of foreclosures, and so had some strange experiences at that time. Showing foreclosed homes where the power was out, and it was kind of
Yes.
scary sometimes,
Wow.
that kind of thing.
So that was back in 2008, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, I got my license in 2009, and
Oh.
pretty much, we still had foreclosures and short sales through like 2011, pretty much here.
See, it's funny because you're flying in the face of convention. People would have thought, why would I bother getting into that type of industry during that period of time shortly after the 2008 crash? What inspired you?
Well, like I said, I was always interested in real
Yep,
estate
yep.
since I was a teenager. And then I actually bought another home in 2009, and kept my home I had at the time as a rental property. And that got me more interested in real estate again. And I think, I people were always saying, "Why are you getting into real estate?" And I think it was actually, it turned out to be a really good time because it gave me time to learn it before it got too crazy busy. And I got to work with a lot of investors during the time that were buying rental properties. And since
Mm.
I had a little bit of experience with that, through my parents and then myself, I was knowledgeable about rental properties. And it was, the people that bought all the rental properties at that time, they've been selling them over the last couple of years and they've made a lot of money.
Yeah. So talk about, if you don't mind, David, the cycles that we go through. We're currently, I'm hearing murmurs of a recession. It seems to be a lot of cause and effect in the game that you're involved with. And tell us a little bit about what you're seeing at the moment, because I'm hearing, that there's a recession coming, and everything that happens to America seems to trickle on to everybody else. Would that be fair?
Yeah, it's interesting. Our prices peaked last April, and at that time we were getting 20 offers on each listing we would list. Everything was going for way over asking price, and then since then prices have gone down, but they've really only gone down about 3% here
Yeah.
over that past year. So not a whole lot, and it's been a little bit slow over these past few months. We have really had almost nothing for sale. I think a lot of that is because so many people bought and locked in these low interest rates over the past several years that they don't want to sell and move because they'll give up that rate.
Yeah.
Um, that's part of our problem. And then, but we are seeing as we head into the spring here, because we're kind of cyclical here,
Mm.
we're starting to see the market pick up right now over the past couple of weeks. And also part of that is interest rates went down just a little bit. It seems like the buyers are really sensitive to interest rates right now. When they went up to over 7% here for the 30-year fixed,
Mm.
things really slowed down for a little while. Now they're more in the sixes, 6.5% about right at the moment, sometimes a little lower depending on the lender. And, just that little bit has made a difference with buyers.
So what are you seeing? Is like the townhouse style or the freestanding type of properties more popular? Which ones do you think?
I would say here, the freestanding,
Mm.
single family detached homes are definitely the most popular. So many people around here are very, outdoor oriented and have dogs. We have a ton of dogs. So people tend to want a yard for their dog.
Do you get involved with commercial real estate as well, or
I do not
no?
know.
No, fantastic. Well, look, absolutely loving this call. I love to explore some of the benefits, if you don't mind. Tell us some of the benefits of people getting a portfolio of homes. Is there a benefit?
I think it was one of the smartest decisions I made
Mm.
of getting, starting out with that rental property. And then also, I think it was in 2011, I bought a foreclosure as another rental property. And then I exchanged it into another rental property. So I think financially, it's been the best decisions I've made, buying real estate. People are always saying they're going to wait for the crash to buy. I had people like 3 or 4 years ago telling me that. And I look back at those people, not that I've had any communication with them, but now prices have doubled since then,
Yeah,
since
it's
three or
amazing.
four years ago. And it's like now they'll never be able to buy.
So tell me, I have these questions popping up in the mind. Is there a sweet spot in terms of the number of properties somebody should invest in?
Not really. I think it kind of depends on how much time you want to devote to it, or if you want to hire a management company to manage it for you. Of course,
Mm.
they'll take about like 10% pretty much of whatever the rent is. But for me, because I am kind of busy, I actually went down to one rental property and it's a townhouse, an attached home where the HOA takes care of all the maintenance on the exterior. And for me, that works really well because I don't have time to deal with a bunch of problems.
No, nobody wants problems. Now, tell me, who do you service? What is it only local area, or is what you're talking about in your book something that can be used across the nation?
So I personally only work in the Denver metro area and a little beyond there, but the book is applicable to anyone, definitely in the United States, and I think even some of other countries too.
Yep.
There's a little bit of differences in other countries, but overall, I know there's agents out there all over the world who are telling lies, to get
Yep.
business.
Mm. Okay, well, we'll talk about that in a moment. We'll take a very deep dive into the book and I guess the construct of it. But I'd love to ask you a little bit about, just for the sake of context, if you don't mind, David, a little bit about your education and professional background, just so people who have been firstly introduced to you today, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, so I, like I mentioned before,
Mm.
got a bachelor's degree in computer science,
Mm.
and I've worked in a lot of different things as far as IT.
Yep.
information technology,
Mm.
networking and programming and website development and design and that and marketing and that kind of thing. And especially that website part has really helped me in the real estate part because so much of marketing homes now is about the internet. Nobody's out there, just calling their agent to find out about homes. They're all out searching on the internet to find homes. So it's really important that the website part of it.
There's a couple of things that I take from that. I see virtual walkthrough technology. What do you think of that?
I think it's awesome, especially during like the COVID times when, people were hesitant to go, out and meet with people. It was really great. We've been doing the 3D tours for all of our listings for years now,
Yeah.
because it just makes a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely love it. You don't have to go anywhere. It's a lot easier for people as long as you've got a very high quality camera, which most of our smartphones do nowadays, don't they?
That's true. Yeah. And I actually hire professional photographies to shoot all of my listings.
Yep.
They just do a better job than I can do personally.
Now, I know that you are committed to video. You enjoy using video and imagery. How important is video becoming in your space?
It's becoming really important too. I mean, YouTube is, I think they say like the second largest search engine. So many people search for things on there that you really have to have some presence there for your listing, your home listing, in order to get those eyeballs on it.
Yeah, well, there seems to be obviously a lot of eyeballs on each other in terms of what's the other real estate doing. What are some of the things that you're seeing coming through at the moment that really catch your eye?
I think like you mentioned, like the 3D tours and professional photography, and then, just making it really easy for the consumer to find what they're looking for. Even part of that is about signage, like our signage, you can text right from your car, sitting in your car, and bring up a link to the 3D tour or schedule a showing, right there, all on a calendar, so that you don't have to, make that phone call. Because especially I find so many younger people want to communicate via text primarily or email. They
Yep.
really don't want to pick up the phone and talk to somebody.
No, I like the QR codes. Are you using those?
Yeah, we do use those too. Yeah, any way that we can get somebody to the website that has all the information in the 3D tour is what we're trying to do.
Now, I know that there's always this question of intergenerational differences and the way in which you would have to deal with them because they learn differently. They, are attracted to different things. They consume information differently. Tell us a little bit about the differences in how your clientele. What are they made? Who are they made up of? And what are some of the techniques that you use to work with people to serve them?
Yeah. So I work anywhere from first-time home buyers, people in their early to mid 20s usually, all the way to people that are downsizing, retirees who are selling their bigger home and moving into like these 55 plus communities, for example.
Mm.
And as far as communication, I think the main difference I see is that the younger people tend to want to text and older, more retired people tend to want to always talk on the phone. I would say those are the main differences that I
The
see.
differences in modus operandi, but I think there's some commonalities throughout. At least what I can see is trust and communication and real relationships. How important are those things in your world?
Oh, very much important. Yeah, and I think that brings a little bit about the book in there. I think a lot of people don't even realize that their real estate agent has lied to them in the past, and so they have this trust in this real estate agent who wasn't even honest with them, and I think that's a real problem.
Mm. Yeah, well, it's interesting that you called the book what you have and the website Agents Are Liars. And given that you are in that field, it must be fairly, confronting, I guess, at times. People going, what do you mean agents are liars? How do you go about building trust when you when you're saying agents are liars?
Well, yeah, I go into a detail in the book about how it's not all agents are liars. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
primarily like desperate, struggling agents who are, who
yeah,
are out there telling the most lies.
yeah,
And then I go into detail about how to find a good agent and that you should treat it as a business decision because really it should be a business decision, not an emotional decision. I know that's hard because your home, you have a lot of emotions around your home, whether
of
you're buying or
course.
selling.
Yeah.
And so it can be hard to separate that, but the more you can treat it as a business decision, the better.
Well, because people sometimes are under duress. There's some legal issues or whatever the reason might be for having to sell, and like you said, they're emotionally charged. How important is it for you to be empathetic when dealing with these types of situations?
Oh, very much so. I have lots of clients who, for example, have been going through a divorce, and that's why
Mm,
they have to sell the home. And it can be hard, and you kind of almost have to be like a therapist in a way,
mm,
um, because sometimes you're between the two people.
yeah.
It can be kind of difficult at times, but you just got to yeah, got to be empathetic and be nice and do the best job you can.
How long did it take you to actually write the book, David?
It took me about 6 months.
6 months, and it was did it just flow onto the through the keyboard for you, or?
At times. At other times, I would hit like writer's block and that kind of thing.
Yep,
Um, Interestingly, I did use a little bit of it's just been in the news a lot, AI, when I would hit writer's block and
yep.
ask it a question and it would sometimes as it's been talked about recently, it'll come up with just bizarre stuff that's totally the opposite of what's true. But
Yep.
in a way, as an author, that's still helpful because even if it's the exact opposite, then I can look at it and be like, oh, that's actually kind of interesting. I'll write about this, but from the opposite point of view,
Yep.
for example.
Yeah, well, look, there's going to be a lot of people on the show today, David, who want to know a little bit about what's inside. I'm wondering if we can, I guess, break it down and talk about its structure and all the content. Would you mind doing that?
Sure, yeah. So I start out with the first chapter with 39 lies that real estate agents use. These are lies that they use for buyers and sellers. I would say more for sellers. It's just kind of easier, or there's a lot of agents out there who are kind of desperate to get listings. And so they will tell a seller anything they want to hear to get that listing.
Yeah.
So I go into detail about a lot of those. For example, one of them that has been used by a lot of agents is I call it the I have a buyer lie. And basically, a lot of agents will send out like postcards to a neighborhood and say, I have a buyer looking for a home in your neighborhood.
Ah,
And you call them up and you have them come over and look at your house. And then it turns out they never really had a buyer, but you've now met them. A huge percentage of people, sellers or buyers, hire the first real estate agent they meet with. So, being that first person in the door has some great advantages. And so basically then they're able to get that listing. And another a major one for sellers, I call it the high price lie. And that's basically where they go in and tell the seller a price for their home that is higher than it could possibly sell for. And the agent knows that, but
yeah.
they're just telling the seller that because of course the seller wants to hear that, so that they'll get the listing, and then they know they're going to make them go through multiple price reductions until they get down to the point to the market value of the home where it'll actually sell.
Yeah, yeah, wow. It's there seems to be like almost a secret society. I know that there's I think a Blue Book website where the actual selling prices are available to agents, but not generally available to the public. Is that true?
Anymore, you can pretty much find all that information. All of the county records are online here in the United States,
Yep.
where it tells you, you can look up what anything sold for, and even if it has a mortgage and, what the mortgage balance was at that time.
Yep.
And a lot of websites out there are doing that too, the major portal websites. You can just go there and you can find the last sale of a property.
Hey, David, tell me a little bit about your Toastmaster speaking experience. I'd love to hear about that.
So yeah, I got into Toastmasters quite a while ago, and I went through and got my Distinguished Toastmaster Award, which is you have to give about 50 speeches and do a lot of leadership roles and that kind of thing.
Mm.
And then I got out of it for a little while, but I recently just got back into it again. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it again. It's really it's a great organization. So many people are afraid of public speaking, and it just helps to get up there and practice, practice, practice. Basically, is what it's about.
Absolutely. Now, are you doing that both on the online mode as well as face to face?
Yeah, some of both. The club I'm a part of right now, they've gotten really good at doing it both. So we have an in-person meeting and via Zoom at the same time, and it's really kind of cool because we have people coming in from all over the world, really, and then we have all our people here in Denver as well at the same meeting.
Is that type of a gateway? I don't know much about Toastmasters. Is that sort of a gateway to TEDx? Is that how that works, or?
Well, actually, there are a lot of people in Toastmasters who are trying to get there to like TEDx for sure. But
Yep.
it's basically just an organization that helps you improve your public speaking and leadership skills.
Fantastic. Now, when you do speak, you're obviously speaking about real estate, then primarily. What are the other things that I guess during a talk that you give that people ask you the most?
Well, I guess one of the main things is people ask about how, how best to go about finding a good agent is
Mm.
a question I get often. And I do go into detail in later chapters of the book, one about finding a great buyer's agent and one about finding a great listing agent or seller's agent. And, really it comes down to interviewing several agents and asking them all the same questions so that you can then compare them and figure out who is the best fit for you and who hopefully will rip you off and will charge you a reasonable amount.
So, yeah, how do you go about this? I mean, is there a checklist? Do you ask for testimonials? Do you say, hey, look, can I have access to your previous clients? What's the process for verification?
Yeah, a little bit of all. I do actually have an interview checklist that you can download off of my website.
Mm.
And it's actually not the Agents Are Liars website. That's for the book itself. But
Yes,
I've
yes.
set up a website. It's called honestethicalexperience.com, where it's basically set up to allow you to find an honest, ethical, experienced agent.
Yep.
And you can download those checklists there. And then I go into a little bit about that you should look at reviews. However, you need to be a little skeptical about that reviews online because there are a lot of fake reviews out there,
Yep.
both good and bad, I would say. Sometimes you have like a disgruntled agent, putting a bad review on another agent's site,
Yes.
for example. So you got to be, take those with a big grain of salt, I'd say.
Yep.
Um, but it is also fair to ask to speak to a past client as well. I have some past clients who are willing to speak to some other people that are thinking about hiring me.
Yep. Are there societies, like, are there like agent bodies, government bodies that regulate any of this sort of thing? And is that something people can use as well, do you think?
Yeah, so here at least we have the National Association of Realtors,
Mm.
and you have to follow their code of ethics,
Yep.
agree to follow their code of ethics, and there are definitely some advantages there to hiring an actual realtor versus someone who's just a real estate agent. In Colorado, you can be a real estate agent without being a member of the National Association of
Oh.
Realtors. So yeah, definitely. I think there's for a consumer out there, it's good to hire an actual realtor.
So do you think that I guess the percentage of cowboys, quote unquote, versus legitimate, honest and ethical agents is improving?
You know, a lot of it depends on the market.
Right.
So what we're going through right now with a little bit of a slowdown is leading to a lot of desperate agents because sales are down, way
Yep.
down, in fact.
Yep.
So you're actually more likely to run into lies right now, I would say, than in a good market.
Right.
Um, and then the problem with a really hot market like we had, over the 2 years right after COVID was you get a ton of people coming into the business, and those people don't even necessarily even realize that they're saying things they shouldn't because they just don't have any experience. But hiring somebody who's brand new is not necessarily the best idea. I actually have a chapter about that it's too easy to become a real estate agent in my book, and I talk about some things that I think should be changed along those lines. I think we should have more education requirements. I think we should have more continuing education requirements. And I think new agents should be required to apprenticeship under someone, an
Yes.
experienced agent for at least a year. I mean, a real estate transaction is one of the largest transactions anyone ever does. And I think it's only fair that you hire somebody who's competent to
Yeah.
do that job.
Yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it? Now, you've talked about checklists earlier and all these wonderful things that people can do. It seems to me, not having taken too much time to read the book yet, that it could be used as a cover to cover read, or is it more of a guide that people can go back to as they need to?
It can be both. I would recommend reading it cover to cover, but then going back, especially to the chapters about finding a good agent once it's time to actually find a good agent.
Now, we've talked a lot about the things that other agents are doing, and it's kind of definitely, absolutely revealed how you operate. When people want to engage with you, where do they find you again, please? And what is the onboarding sequence for you? Because I
So,
presume that you have to interview them just as much as they would you.
oh yeah, you mean for a buyer or a
Yeah.
seller, for example? Yeah. So they could find me on my website, the agentsareliars.com website,
Mm.
or also I have numerous other
Yeah.
websites. My brokerage is called the Principal Team at Metro Brokers,
Right.
and it can also be found at theprincipalteam.com. Um, and yeah, just basically what usually happens is, a buyer will contact me and I'll go through, what they're looking for. And then we'll actually then meet in person at some point. And for sellers, typically, it's best if I can go over and see their home, get to know them a little bit, take a look at the home, and then come up with a price that I think their home would sell for.
Yep.
And I lose out on a lot of listings because I'm honest about that price.
Yep.
And, so there are a lot of agents out there telling inflated prices.
No, and
Um,
you're not willing to do that.
Correct. Yeah, I
Yep.
don't think it's fair to the seller because they typically will end up netting less
Yep.
on the sale of their home once they go through multiple price reductions and eventually sell it than if they had just priced it right from the beginning.
You know what I like about you, David? You've got a conscience, and it shines through, and you can sleep well at night. How good does it feel when you've done the right thing by your clients?
It feels really good. One thing that I didn't talk about is about how buyers can save a lot of money,
Ah,
and
yep.
that is hero programs. So
Oh,
basically, I was a founder of a hero program here in Colorado, and there's national ones and I'm sure international ones as well. But basically, what we do is we give back to people who have served our country and our communities,
yep,
such as veterans, first responders, educators, healthcare workers. And what we do specifically with our hero program is I give a portion of the commission I earn because the commission is paid by the seller, the buyer's agent commission is
yep.
paid by the seller. I give a percentage of that commission to the buyer to help pay their closing costs.
Oh,
And
wow.
with veterans, for example, our hero program, we pretty much cover all of the closing costs for veterans. And the VA loan is 0% down, 100% financed. So they can actually buy a house for nothing a lot of times.
Yes, wow, that's great feedback. Thank you very much. Now, you're doing some incredibly good work. You're honest, ethical, all of the great things we've spoken about. You've got a book that people can look at. Just again, please, what is the primary website that you would send people to first should they want to start working with you?
Well, I'd say so that they can, get a feel for how I work
Yep,
and everything would be like, look at agentsareliars.com.
yep.
And then they can contact me right through there. I think that would be great because, I think that there's, like I mentioned at the beginning, there's too many people that don't even realize that their agent did, lie to them in the
Mm.
past. And I think that they need to, open their eyes.
Yeah, look,
And I think
I would hate to be that person on the wrong end of the stick. I can only imagine how they would feel. I guess. Do you work with a lot of people that have been stung before, David?
definitely, yeah. One other thing that a lie that has happened to a lot of sellers, and it costs them a huge amount of money, is, commissions are variable here, and they're also always negotiable.
Yeah.
So when you list a home, and we have a lot of discount agents here in Colorado, including me. I do all my listings for a discounted commission.
Mm.
And it's basically kind of the model that, I discount it and then I do more business. And it works very well for me.
Yep.
But, there's, especially when you get up to a home that's like $1 million, for example, the difference between hiring an agent charging less and agent charging more can amount to a whole lot of money.
A
I mean,
lot of
you're
money.
talking like, 40, $50,000 sometimes.
Yeah, it certainly adds up. Well, look, if you're on today's call and you're interested in this space, you're either a buyer or a seller, you want to learn more, and you want to look out for I guess, the tricks, the tactics, the downfalls, and the upsides to everything that David's involved with. Make sure you visit agentsareliars.com. No matter where you see this post, you're going to find that link back to David and all of his wonderful work. And David, thank you so very much for joining me on the My Future Business Show today.
Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.